Hi, everyone. I'm Christian Joy. Welcome to the See Joy and Expand podcast. I am your host, and I am a quantum hypnotist and an embodiment life coach. And this is my podcast where we talk about all the things in the way we want to talk about them because I love unedited, I love unfiltered, well, lightly edited, let's put it that way. Before we get on to this episode with Renee and Christine, I wanted to share that I have embodiment life coaching spots still open. If you are interested, the doors will close June 2nd, and this is embodiment life coaching for becoming your Technicolor human, where we lived in a world where everything's black and white. Um, Everything is polarized, everything, there's so much duality, and everything is like has to be this way, or this is how you have to do it, and this, you're this label and you have to be this way. And when I stepped into my work and in my journey, I realized that I am so much more than labels. This is something I come to understand when I was a child. I'm so much more than these labels because these labels don't even make sense the way they are defined by other people. And when I decided to explore what all these labels mean for me, or what these words mean for me, or who am I meant to be in this incarnation, this human experience, I realized that there are so many facets of me that make me who I am. The part of me that loves anime, the 12-year-old boy inside of me that loves anime, the artistic side of me that loves to draw and color, the athletic side of me that loves to run, jump, snowboard, all the things. The traveling side of me who loves to explore and meet new people and connect with different cultures. And the list goes on and on. And if you guys have been listening to me for a while, I'm also, this is like a very spirituality oriented podcast. So that side of me is there too. So, who is your Technicolor human? That's the question I like to ask in my coaching. Who is the person that you can feel more home in your body, in your life, that makes you feel so good in all the ways, whatever that good word is for you. My good words are more joy, pleasure, peace, fun, levity, abundant in every single moment. So, and it'll be individual and unique to you. Some of those words will resonate with you. You will have a lot of, everybody will have their own set of words. So, and in this life coaching container that I created, will be, I opened up a spot for a tier one and a tier two, and the tier one will work more closely together, where it's one, we'll meet weekly, and it comes with a quantum hypnosis session. We'll do everything that I know how to do to help you get closer to where your soul wants you to travel, the direction your soul wants you to travel towards. And then I have a tier two where we meet bi-weekly, and in the in-between weeks, I'm around through message support as well. So, and that will come with one quantum hypnosis session. The program's only 4 months long because you guys know me by now. I like to pivot a lot. I like to follow where my energy wants to go. And I know I've tried a 6 month container and it's just too long. And I want to be focused and be there and present for the person I'm working with. So I kept it at 4 months. And then if it feels aligned towards the end to stretch it out more, then we can revisit that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about it. I know I shared it in my Substack, but I wanted to formally share a little bit more about that. So the idea and the concept of it, if you read the offerings page, is the world's in black and white. Been moving this certain particular way that we've been taught to. Now we're at this point where the way that we've been taught to move, the way we've learned how to move through life, isn't working for us anymore. And what if we stepped into our multi-dimensional expression? What if we added more color to our lives? What if we showed up in the way we want to express ourselves? One example of that is I identify as a woman, but by conventional standards or societal standards, I don't really seem like a woman, like feminine, I guess. I very identify with my masculine side of me. At least for most of my life, I'm learning to embody more of my feminine energy. So that's one way that looks like. But honoring that this is my expression now, that I do tend to be a more masculine person energetically. I remember when I was a kid, I used to dress more in like jeans and a t-shirt, and my parents, and this is how long ago this was, my parents would call me a tomboy. um I don't know if that's like, if that word's aging well or not, or if anybody even uses it anymore. um but that's one thing, like one example that I can pull from my experience. So how does life want to be lived and by you and look like for you? How do you want to feel is what becoming your Technicolor human is all about. So I will link the offerings page in the show notes, and if it resonates, if it sparks something inside of you, it feels like a yes, you can book a connection call with me so we can just talk, feel it out, see if we're a match, because that's a thing too. We are an energetic match to work with each other. So I honor that as well. Anywho, you guys enjoy this episode. Renee and Christine and I talk about all the things. We started off with food. And I love that they're on their podcast. They're the hosts of the Synergy to Synastry podcast, and I love them. They're so much fun. It was a great conversation, but we did have a bunch of deep moments. So, and that were just so juicy and so potent and just so it was such a lovely conversation to have. So this will be in 2 parts, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Enjoy.
Honestly, you could keep eating, Christine. It's totally fine.
I mean, for the viewer, I'm not gonna.
I'm enjoying it. I think people don't eat enough in front of people on other things besides mukbangs. So
Oh yeah, and you know what? I like watching those. Sad story though. I went to the cafe, and I was like, "Can I have a ham and cheese sandwich?" And they were like, "Sure." And I took a bite into it, and it's mozzarella and pesto, but it tastes delicious. So I guess it's not that sad of a story. That's it.
was it a sad story? Was
I
it
don't
supposed
know.
to be a sad story?
It was, but now I'm like, I don't know.
It just sounded like you got food.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I got a sandwich, guys.
I was like, where's the plot?
There's no plot.
Oh my gosh, totally random. Just remembered this. I was out food shopping like a couple weeks ago, and I was in the bread section, and I saw the sourdough mish.
Oh my god, did you get it?
No, I just saw it, and I went, oh my gosh. So for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, including Christian, we talked about it in our podcast. Was it in the food episode? Or was it in a different one?
It might have been. I think it was the food episode.
Yeah, it was like at the beginning, like our little intro. Christine was like, oh, I went to the farmer's market and this guy was recommending the sourdough mish and I made the most delicious meal and I can't wait to get it again. I've never seen it in the wild and I just happened to see it out at the supermarket and I got excited about bread.
Are you into bread, Christian?
Okay. I have this really interesting relationship with food. And I get turned on by bread sometimes. I love pasta for sure. I love rice, but my body loves rice too much, so it sits on my body a lot. I'm like going through all the carbs. This is the one that my because I have this conversation all the time. My partner, their family, his mom's side of the family, they go hard for potatoes. I'm like, I don't really care about potatoes. They're like, who are you? You've been
My mind is
dating me
blown.
for how long? I told my partner's sister that, and she's like, do you know who you're dating? And I was like, I know. I know. I just have
You
to
know what
let
it
you
means?
guys
It means
know.
more for them.
Exactly. That's how I see it. But I think lately I've been like, okay, I think I'm okay with potatoes. For now.
Can I ask what you don't enjoy about potatoes?
Um
This is important for
I
our
don't
friendship.
I
it's
know.
not it's like it's okay. I understand your perspective because when I lived in the East Coast, when I lived in Maryland, I was getting to know my cousins. I moved there when I was in my late 20s. And my cousin has an aversion to chocolate and cheese.
Together?
Not
I'm so
together,
sorry for them.
separate.
Oh.
She's not sorry, by the way, because I had the same. I was like, why? Shudder. So, before we get carried on with the conversation, I have for everybody on the podcast, welcome to See Joy and Expand podcast. I'm Christian Joy, and I'm your host, and I have two lovely guests that I've been hanging out with for the last year. It's been a year, right, Renee?
Yeah, for us. Yeah, because it was May last year.
Yeah, May last. Oh my god,
Wow.
we had our anniversary. And so I have Renee Precopio and Christine Martello, and they're the hosts of the Synergy to Synastry podcast. They're psychics, and Renee. It started for the origin story is I met Renee. She picked me off of a Zoom. We were in this spiritual business program, and then she just messaged me, and I just happened to put my Instagram handle as a part of my name, and that's like, hey, let's follow each other. And I kind of want to ask, like, what I know it was a psychic, what have you. I'm sure you use your intuition, but I want to formally ask you why you asked me out.
Well, part of it was I remember we were saying something in the chat. I don't know what the prompt was. Maybe we're just introducing ourselves or something that we were working on, or because the workshop series that we were in over the course of those few weeks was talking about building a business. And you must have mentioned in there, I know you did, you mentioned how you were starting or recently started a podcast. And my brain went off and went, oh, well, I started one too. Like we had like a couple months lead time on you, I think. And so I was like, oh, that could be like great. We could just kind of chat. So yeah, of all the people, I think you're the only person I actually reached out to from that. But I saw that, I looked you up, we connected, and we must have just started messaging on Instagram, and then eventually did a call, and then worked on a workshop together on each other's podcasts. Rest is history.
Yeah. Like they've interviewed me now for episodes that are coming out in June. I'm planning, and you guys know me by now. I make plans, and then my energy takes me where the day goes. I plan on releasing these episodes in the beginning of June. We'll see what happens when I get there. Because that was the same with your interview. I finally released it way like months later.
Yeah.
But I feel the push to, as I record, release them because I hit a snag with my friend John. He's a human design reader. And I sat on his podcast episode for a very long time. And when I finally got to it, it got lost in the Riverside cloud.
Yeah.
And it took forever to come back. Like they had to bring in the team to retrieve it. I was like, I already know what I'm going to call it. It was like, I got the part 1 out, and then the part 2 was lost. Like it wasn't coming back through Riverside, so I can like edit it and do all the things and then publish it. It finally came through, but it was like such divine timing when it did, because then it started like it was the human design half of his interview, and I was like, oh, I'm like going back to studying, and we started riffing on off of ideas of doing like TikTok lives and just talk about human design for hours. So I guess I'm saying all this to like the vibe of the energy of my podcast, if you're new here, is that I honor what's happening right now. And I do have is it the channel of now or the gate of now? I don't remember which one. In my human design chart, and my medicine is like, how can I like be here right now and honor how everything wants to unfold through me. And I feel like that's the same with Mother Nature. Nature is the same way. Like, what is happening right now? And we are nature. Like there's this thing about like everybody's like we need to get back with Mother Nature and stuff like that, but we are nature. So why don't we just honor where we are? Because that's what like Mother Nature's not like I need to be more of myself. And we're like, we need to be more like Mother Nature. I'm like, well, why don't we just honor us at this moment in our natural state and let spirit, what have you, or your higher self come to you with signs and resonances, like when you were like, oh, we like the same things going on. Like if we are here now, we can notice the signs, the synchronicities, and how we our higher selves or spirit wants to speak through us. I'm starting to language a little different, say things a little bit differently because something has come up lately, and I want to say this out loud because I don't know if this is coming up for someone else I was talking to the other day, and she went on this whole thing like spirit this, spirit that, guides this, guide that. And I was like, it's not spirit, it's not guides, it's you. And I was like, oh, that hits so hard because my last episode that I recorded, I went spirit said, and then I said all the things I wanted to say, but like that two word phrase, I was just like, that is landing a little bit differently. And I'm wondering if you guys have anything to add to that or anything that I just said. I said a lot of things.
Of course I do. And as you were saying that, I was like, was it you who said this to me? But it wasn't. I'm going back and I'm like reviewing tarot because Renee is, so of course I am. And I remember like the last like video module that I listened to, she was saying, she's like, tarot is just you checking in with your higher self. It's your intuition. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, like it's not spirit. It's just like me confirming what I already know. So it's similar to what you were saying. And it's odd that that has come up this week specifically.
Yeah, I would say what I do is I don't normally say, because I know when we do readings sometimes I'll hear Christine say that, like, oh, you know, spirit's telling me blah, blah, blah. And sometimes like it is because somebody is stepping forward, like it is somebody's spirit that is communicating that. And for argument's sake, we don't know how often as intuitives we're getting information that is from a specific being versus it's the collective fabric of information. So normally for me, I will phrase it along the lines of, I'm getting information about this. So I'm kind of taking out who it's coming from, because like I don't always know who it's coming from unless I'm sitting and intentionally connecting with someone on purpose. Then I go, okay, well, this is what they are telling me or sharing with me. And then there's the fine line between that and what is your gut telling you? So is it your gut? Is it people signaling you? And that's what's like, we don't always know that. And for me, I kind of feel like it doesn't matter. So I usually try to keep it more broad of this is what's coming in. And then I can choose how I want to work with it, share it or not.
That reminds me of like back in the day, like when people got into like past lives and stuff, and they overly identified with the information. Like you hear a lot of people say like, I was Cleopatra in a past lifetime, etc., etc. But there's more than one person who resonates with that piece of information, and then you get in your heads about like, how can this be, like I was Cleopatra and stuff like that. And it doesn't get anybody moving forward too far in their path when they're stuck in their minds about the information. And I feel like I'm going to be referencing human design a lot in this one. But are you studying human design? Are you guys currently human, or what do you guys actually, let me let you guys introduce yourselves before we keep going.
Now that we've been talking for 15 minutes, let's say who we are.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Martello. I am an intuitive clairvoyant and coach. I almost forgot the title that I had given myself. I've been a practicing intuitive since 2021, and I kind of use it to coach. Well, I do use it to coach clients through their own personal growth. Like, the goal is to help you grow and heal. And I really just love that work so much.
Basically same, which you'll hear in our podcast. Christine and I have an incredibly similar timeline. A lot of it directly overlaps, or we've had this very fascinating 6-month alternating period because of the fact that our astrological charts have opposite rising signs, and we tend to experience something that the other person experienced 6 months ago, and then we're 6 months ahead, so we can always give each other advice and perspective, which is nice. Or we tend to be kind of going through something similar at the same time. It's been a very interesting experience. But I am a psychic intuitive, a teacher, a astrologer, and as of recently, I am now a published author because I wrote a chapter in a multi-author book on my spiritual awakening. So if anybody wants to learn more about that, you can go find that. The details for it on my website. But Christine and I co-host, as Christian mentioned, we co-host a podcast, which we started doing in early 2024. And that came through as a message initially through me. And then I brought it up to Christine, and it wasn't even us together. I was literally putting the dishes away one day, and I just had it drop in. Ask Christine if she likes podcasts and if she's ever thought about doing one. And I was like, well, that's random. And, Christine and I knew each other through our psychic group, but we weren't like as close as we are now, like actually friends. We just like would see each other once a month, and it had been a few months, and we started noticing some commonalities. Like, we would read into each other's relationships, and either one of us would go, oh my gosh, my partner is exactly like that. I'm having trouble being neutral. So we kept having commonalities. So I had this drop in. I reached out, texted her, oh, I love podcasts. No, I've never thought about doing one. That's dropped. Months later, like, it came up again for me. It came up again for Christine. And eventually we started talking about it, and it was like just completely flowed. Once we sat down, had a brainstorming session, we could not believe how in sync we were, how we operate, the ideas flowing. We still do it now. We get like halfway through recording a season, and we already start thinking about ideas for the next season. Like, we're already ready. We're like, oh, we could do this now, and we could do that. So it's been a really great partnership. And yeah, we're finishing the recording process for season 2 in the next like month or so, but they'll be airing through early October 2025.
I love all of that. I love how structured you guys are because I'm
Is that
very
Virgo, baby?
yeah. Well,
Heavy Virgo.
it's interesting because I have a Virgo rising, but then I have like the stellium in Capricorn, which you think the structure would come from there, but I have the stellium in Sag, so it's like,
Yeah.
where am I going?
It's the Sag doing it.
Yeah, and then when I was looking at my human design, I have the variables, and most of my, if I'm remembering this correctly, left facing arrows are more structured.
Mm-hmm.
And then right facing arrows are more fluid. So I only have one left facing arrow, and that's just the way I think, which is, I guess, my approach to things in my mind is structured, but everything else is in my approach is fluid and flowy and just whatever's happening right now. So I'm always like so amazed and like in awe when people can plan their podcasts out. I remembered I was writing a Substack really earlier on, and I was still finding my writing voice on Substack. I've never entertained writing before. So I was very new to the idea of it, and then I realized later it was like an outlet for my creativity, which was a lot of fun. Like learning to use words as my art. I see my business that way. Entrepreneurship is that way. Like, how do things come together in creative flow? And when I wrote it, I thought, well, and this is my open ajna, probably my open head too. My conditioning is needing, like, having value in the things I share, or like needing to know things, like the pressure of that. And I wrote a Substack, my first one on quantum hypnosis, and I was talking about like the science behind it, like very systematically, and it hurt me. It hurt my brain so much to write that. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm going to write whatever I want to write. And I love storytelling, and that's where my magic is.
What's funny about the variables is that, Christine, you also have one going left. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's my body. So it's funny because the only thing structured really in my calendar are my workouts, and then I plan everything around them. But Renee has 4 left-facing arrows. So I'm 90% sure Renee is the reason why we're so structured. Like, I jump in here and there, but Renee's like, got it.
Updating the
That
action
is
items.
amazing. That is so amazing. And if for anybody that's listening to this, it's like a super quick Google search online. You can look up your variables. If you have your birth data, your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location, are you definitely need time, I believe, for this one, because the variables change throughout the day. It gives you a sense of clarity on how you operate, like which part of you is flow, which part of you is structure, and that you're not crazy. This is just the way your blueprint is. So it gave me a lot of permission to be the way I am in all the ways, especially the different aspects of human design. It's very lovely.
I love
I
that.
love it.
What I love is that I'm a projector. So, and I have a lot of projector channels. Like, a lot about me is very ebb and flowy. And my partnership with Renee is a Manigen, but Renee has a way of taking my ideas and like making them a reality, or like I'm like, oh, I think we should do this. And she's like, hold on, I'm typing it out. So it's kind of wild how our structures sort of line up in both astrology and human design. Like, it's just a different way for us to confirm that whatever is happening here is like legit. And now, on my screen, Renee and I are side by side. And now that I look at it, I'm like, are we starting to look like each other?
Because of our glasses?
It's like, I'm like, are we really becoming each other?
We both had these.
I know. I'm just noticing it in the moment. So I'm like, that's weird. We're like,
it would have been weirder if we were wearing like the same color shirt or something.
No, I would die.
You know, we have a lot of things going on that are different today. But no, I think the other thing too that's kind of funny, and I think what you're describing, Christine, is we'll be talking and she'll be saying something, and I basically just translate it. And I'm like, so do you mean this? And she's like, yeah, that. So we can connect somewhere. In that we do think in a similar way, but we don't always operate in the same way because of the projector versus Manigen energy.
I do want to say, okay, I want to. There's my brain again. That
The most dramatic pause.
Okay,
I'm falling off my chair.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So I do want to say something really interesting about like how human design frames how we're drawn to each person's energy in our lives. And you guys are like drawn to each other, and it's usually explained by you have hanging gates and you complete a channel within each other. I don't know if you guys ever looked that up between you guys. It was really funny. I haven't shared this story with John, but I have to say it out loud because it sounds important to share. Because our thoughts and beliefs regarding sexual energy and thinking like our sacral chakra, and we're like, oh, like we're connecting in a certain way. But like when I noticed in my path, in my journey with my body, that when that chakra is activated, it's not necessarily like I have an attraction to this person. That's just a sensation that we gave a label to in from our society. So I had to sit with that for a minute. Like, so let me tell this story real quick. So when John and I met, he's a human design reader. Like months before that, I had said on my podcast, one of my earlier podcast episodes, I'm going to have a human design reader. I'm like activating my manifestation center, my throat center. I'm going to have a human design reader on this podcast, blah, blah, blah. And then I go to this hypnosis conference weeks later, and I get there, I'm late, everybody's in the rooms, I'm like at the front with the calendar, and I was like, I'm just going with the flow. I'm like, I don't even know which room I'm going to, and I'm looking at it, and this guy walks up to me and he's like, hey, and he's like, which one are you going to? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna look at this and see where which one interests me. And I was like, I think I'm gonna go to this one. And then I start walking that way, and then he starts following me, and I was like, okay, hey, like how's it going? And we chat, and then we like get up to the door, and I was like, oh, okay, he's like following me, and I was like, okay, I guess this is happening. And it's really funny because I knew people that were in, I don't remember if this is a separate workshop or not during that conference, but I remember that one of my friends saw me coming in, and they were like, oh, there's Christian, and oh, she must have brought her brother. Because we look kind of similar.
Yeah.
And throughout that conference, that was the first day, right? Every single day I would see him. Every day.
I thought the
There's
story
so
was
many
going
people.
that you walked in and he was going to be the teacher. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, oh, he's the guy that's teaching the class, and it's on human design.
No. We would love to.
Yeah.
We were thinking we riff off a lot of ideas. Like we were like, we're in deep right now. We like talk. We're always like coming up with ideas of things we want to create. But back to the origin story. I find out like probably like the second or third day in that he's a human design reader. He is a human design reader, and he's been hanging out in the hallways because his environment is shores. And that's why I always saw him there. And then part of me is like, when I was talking about that sacral energy, like when I was talking about my conditioning, I was like, does he like me, or am I into him? And I'm like, I'm so confused about what was going on. Never said this out loud to him. Oh my god, he's probably gonna listen to this and be like, okay, Christian. But and I even asked one of the girls I was hanging out with, and they were like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, okay, I'll let that sit. And as our friendship has like evolved over the past year, it's clearly he's like a soul brother or something to me, which is very nice. Like he's like the guy version of me. It's so freaking hilarious. We have like the same interests. I'm like we both love anime. And we both love food. We were even like, the synchronicities are so crazy. Like, he was in Japan 2 years ago, the same time I was in Japan, the same time frame, like the whole 2 weeks. And I was like, what is this like about? Like,
you kept getting brought together trying to have your paths cross, and you didn't.
What if he's in the background of your photos?
Oh my gosh, have you looked?
Oh my god, like you'll see on like TikTok or something.
Yeah. Or vice versa.
I'm gonna go through all my Tokyo photos. That would be freaking insane.
Tell him to look too.
I will shit myself.
That's my dream for you at this moment. Not that you'll poop yourself.
I wouldn't even be surprised though. Okay, and then our partners. Okay. Not that part. Thank you. Thank you for caring about me shitting myself.
I just wanted to confirm with the universe, like that's not what we're manifesting here.
We're not manifesting that. We're manifesting clean bottoms. But So my partner's name is Adrian, and his partner's name is Adrienne. My partner spells his name like Adrienne with an E at the end. I'm Christian, and like Christian Joy, his name's John. He
Mhm.
goes by Jon. And I started adding the joy later, and I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. But yeah, anyways, it's so magical, and like, don't get in your head about it. Don't think you're like, this is going to turn into a relationship.
Well, there's relationships of different kinds, is the point. You know?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for saying that out loud. I'm like embarrassed to tell that story, like held that in for a very long time, but I was just like, let me just say it out loud, because people need to hear that what they're thinking in their head is not necessarily what's really going on.
Right. Well, and I think it's a perfect time to tell it, given my experience with Christine. Like, we basically, we both signed up for the psychic school at the same time. We had multiple opportunities where we could have interacted, where we were in the same Zoom call, but we never chatted. Like, I didn't do what I did with you, where I just like plucked you from there and then messaged you. So that didn't happen. And that we had so many opportunities. And it wasn't until like, I don't know, it had to be over a year later when all of a sudden things started dropping in and we started connecting with each other more. And then through that process, we were realizing like all the ways that we're in common. Like when we got together for our retreat in November, which was the only time that we have been in person, we spent a long weekend together and we met halfway. And we would spend hours talking. And sometimes it's like you ask the most random things. So like we would both be in our own corner and we're like packing our bags. And one of us asked, I forget which one it was, like, when you travel, do you like repack after, you take, you're changing for the day? Do you like repack as you're going, or you repack it? It's like things like that. We'd ask each other these questions and both be like, yeah, I totally do that. So we had all of these things where we did the same thing. And it's just the stuff that you don't think of when you're sitting on a Zoom call talking about, yoga and food and analyzing your dreams. But when we were in the same space, we would have all of these organic conversations and realize, oh, wow, we are way more similar than we even realized, even though we had already been podcasting for over 6 months and then known each other for longer than that, texting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it? Like, do you think my mind's going to like Akashic Records, and I hear a lot about like soul groups, and I don't know if you guys know anything. Did you guys have a Akashic Records interview yet on your episode?
We've talked about it. In one episode, we didn't have anyone come on, and we did learn a little bit about it in our psychic school that we went to. So there was a meditation. So we would do that. And we did that for an episode in season 1. I remember this while you were telling your story, Christian, and I forget the date, but there was one time that I had a dream, and I know I told Christine about it immediately. And it was a dream that I was going through. I was different people. So, which happens a lot. I'll be in a dream and I'm not myself. I'm someone else. And I was following different versions of this person in different lifetimes. Like they kept getting reincarnated. And over the course of it, I was meeting the person I was meeting someone who was like this, like we kept finding each other. It's like we kept finding each other over and over again. And then there would be different obstacles and things that happened. I don't even know when the stream was, but I'm surprised I can remember enough of it. And that how it ended was, I was kind of like looking in on a scene, and it was in that lifetime, it was 2 women, when in most of them it was men. And then it was 2 women and they were like dancing and like having this friendship. And so I woke up and I was like, that's me and Christine. Like I knew we have like met each other in previous lives before. And it was so interesting to get a download like that and just kind of seeing the narrative of it.
Into the records through that?
It came in again through a story. I don't always have dreams like that, but I could tell like it was one sequence of, okay, and then these people died, and I would see like a person dying a specific way, and then it was like a reset, and now they're being born again, and now they're different people, and then this is how they're finding each other, and their roles are different. And so I kept seeing that over and over again.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that, Christine? Like, or does it resonate, or what? What do you?
It
What are your two
resonates.
cents?
No, it resonates. I never actually looked into our past lives. But for me, and I've had this, I guess, I don't know, it's part of being intuitive, but you know, when like you meet someone and you're like, oh, like something snaps into place. That's what it feels like with Renee. And in Renee's defense, in getting to know me, I wouldn't say like I'm antisocial, but like
I wouldn't. I wouldn't
I
say.
I wouldn't say I'm antisocial, but I am like a no new friends type of person. Like I still have friends from like the first grade that I see regularly, and I'm like, I'm good.
Wow.
So I'm not surprised Renee and I didn't connect until later, because I don't want to say I'm a hard person to make friends with, because once I start talking to someone, like it's like immediate connection. But to get to that point, like to get me in the same room, it takes a lot of, energy to get us there. So anytime I meet a friend like Renee, where like the connection just snaps, and then I get to the point where I'm texting them all the time, like the universe has to put us together. Basically, it's the universe's problem. I make it the universe's problem, because like I'm not out there looking for friends.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Meanwhile, in contrast, I don't even do it on purpose, but this would happen to be at work in corporate and, all the time. I would keep running into the same person in the bathroom, like, when you get on like the same bathroom cycle, and it would reach a certain point where I would just start saying hi to people while we're washing hands and introduce myself. Or like, I just do that. If I'm in a certain situation, if I feel like compelled, like maybe I should just say hi, maybe I should talk to them. So I've always done some version of that. I wouldn't consider myself super social. Like it's not like I'm trying to make friends, but every once in a while I'll have this kind of like, just say hi to them. Just say hi to them. So then I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just say hello. And then I would develop friendships with some of these people based on those kind of random circumstances.
You're getting a download to talk to them. Is that what you're saying?
Probably. I know I've had that specifically before. I have been in multiple situations where like I was on a Zoom call and there's like for like a workshop. It was like a leadership workshop and there was a ton of people in it. And they were saying, okay, so what's going to happen is you're all going to get not randomly. We've already sorted all of you into these different groups. And then within the group, you're going to talk to different people. I had picked one person out and I was like, I did the same thing. I just messaged her and I was like, I like your lava lamp behind you. Like in her shot. I just commented on it. Okay. And she and I became really good friends from that. And I also had picked out in my brain, this was before I was even doing intuitive work, I think. I had also picked out most of my group members. I was like paying special attention to like 4 or 5 different people. And then we all ended up being in the same group. So when we were sorted, I was like, well, of course I'm in a group with these people. So I don't know. I have some sort of a radar for that of connecting with people.
It sounds like you're the sorting hat from Hogwarts. Like
Yes,
you
my
are the
gosh.
sorting hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is an even better reference given that I'm literally rereading the first Harry Potter book right now.
Wow.
We haven't gotten to the sorting hat part, but we are at the part where they just went to Diagon Alley. And so he's like gathering all of his stuff and he just got his wand.
I freaking love I love that. I think that sparked our whole generation of like people who are into like magical things. And I remember back in the day, oh my God, like when people were like, everybody freaked out about it, like the news, they'll be like, oh my God, Harry Potter, witches and stuff like that. This is like devil stuff. Like that's how they would like frame it on the news. I remember that. And then my mom would tell me, she's like, maybe you shouldn't read that stuff and blah blah. Like there's like evil things in there. And like
Interesting.
I'm like, Mom, calm down. I'm reading it.
I don't remember any of that. And my mom was like very supportive. She was like, oh, you're reading? I don't care what it is. We will get you the next book immediately.
I love that so much.
I think she read them with us too, because, if her kids were reading, she was like, what is this? I need to get into it. I convinced her to read ACOTAR, which is the adult version, I think, of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So maybe she's just as weird as I am. Apple doesn't
ACOTAR except with fairies instead of like magical people. Well, they're magical, but like witches and wizards.
Yeah.
Witches and wizards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started ACOTAR, but I didn't like me and reading. I like Renee with you and reading, since you're a Manigen, we're both Manigens. Are you able to like I see you post stuff on like books all the time and I'm like I
Am I
have a
reading
hard
20
time.
books at once? Is that what you're going to ask?
Something. Is it or are you able to finish it? Because I got to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna just do audiobooks and see how that works for
Yeah.
me. And it's working. Like it's
Oh,
working
it's
a
so
lot better
helpful.
than
I like
yeah.
unlocked something when I started listening to audiobooks. I was like, I can
Oh, so you don't
crush
sit
these.
there like flip
No,
through.
I do. I have we're reading the Throne of Glass series right now. So Christine is one book behind me, but so I can't talk to her about it until she catches up. But I am reading. I have the hardcover I got from the library because they didn't have the audiobook. So I do have a rotation where if depending on the book I want to read, if it's not available as an audiobook or an ebook, then I'll get the physical book. I have really been enjoying it. I mean, I'm like just over halfway through and it's basically 650 pages. I call it my brick. And I have been enjoying it. Every night I sit there, I'm like addicted reading this book. I'm like, I don't care how heavy it is. I'll just prop it up against pillows and then just turn the page, read it to the next one. So I'm like, I might do the rest of the series like that. So I think it depends on the book. I have had some books where, as an example for my book club, we were reading Wuthering Heights, which I didn't read in high school because my English classes didn't do that. I couldn't do the audiobook. I couldn't follow what was going on. I was like, I can't understand even part of what they're saying. I needed to read it to understand it. So that was the only time I've had an issue.
For me, it's like if the voice, like that's why I have a hard time like wanting to, because if I don't like their voice, I'm not listening to it.
That makes sense.
I'm also sensitive to people's voices, but I fortunately haven't had that issue where I was like, I hate their voice. I can't listen to this book.
That was like a podcast I recently sent Renee. I was like, the information in here is good, but I listen to them sparingly because I don't like their voices sometimes. Or like the cadence of it. It's like very slow.
That's why I gotta throw it on faster speed. I can't listen to an audiobook on times one. I can't do it. I have to go faster because they read the book like this.
What speed do you listen to like podcasts and audiobooks on?
So normally if I'm not trying to get a backlog.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't know that I didn't know you can fast forward or speed listen audiobooks or podcasts.
Yes.
No, audiobooks.
You can both of them. Yeah.
Like we live in the age of technology and I like question all the things and if their existence exists.
No, I use Libby, so I'm a big fan of the library. So I haven't bought books in many years because the library is like my best friend. So on the Libby app, which you use with your library card and everything, they have a setting at the top. So you hit the dial. I did this as a joke the other day because my sister and I were doing the Harry Potter book in a little family book club. And so we're like, oh, we'll like read it together. So she got the physical book and I got the audiobook. And I was like, why don't we have reading time? I'll work on my computer and play the audiobook and then you can read the book. So we had to figure out what was an appropriate speed because what I normally do, to answer your question, Christine, is normally with an audiobook, I'm usually around ×2. Sometimes I'm a little faster, sometimes a little slower. It depends on their speech pattern. Like I read a Chelsea Handler book recently. She speaks fast. So I had to go a little bit slower so it was more comfortable. For a podcast, I normally do 1.8. If I'm trying to crush a backlog, I go to 2. But same thing. Sometimes people speak really fast. You have to go a little slower. So what I was doing was I was playing this out loud so we could test it. And I was like, I know I can't do ×2 speed for her. She's not going to be able to follow it on the page and she's going to be stressed. So we kept testing out and you can do it incrementally. So it'd be like, 1.2, 1.3. So we ended up doing 1.1 and I was like, this is basically the same as 1.0, but it was fine. I can listen to it and process it. But normally if I was, he doesn't speak incredibly slowly. I think that for that guy, if it was ×2, probably would be too fast. But yeah, hopefully that answers the multiple questions that were asked.
I love all of that because you guys know that I have like a Chiron and Gemini and it's all about like communications and stuff like that. I at one point I felt the pressure of learning to speak a certain way. Like I have to be this cadence or tonality so that I can really like engage with my audience and stuff like that. But this is how I talk.
Yeah.
And it's like and it requires a lot of practice. And I was just like, you know what? I'm like, this is me. And I love that you can manipulate the speed because I will talk. I was listening to an old podcast episode the other day. I was like, damn, you are talking way slow, girl. Like, I can't even listen to you. But it's nice to like, there's nothing like good or bad with any of it. This is like the way I show up, blah, blah, blah. And it's nice to know that we have technology to help us like for different listeners. Um, and back to the Chiron and Gemini too is like what is my worth and like do I have worth in what I say? Like are the things that I say valuable? And like really stepping into that. And this podcast has been like a lot of healing in that. But since we're on astrology, I want to talk about the times. Do you guys get into the times of astrology?
You mean the like everything going on right now?
Yeah. Or
no, I just did a class today on astrology transits for the rest of the month. And then last night I was working on a blog post for the June astrology because there's a lot happening next month too. So we're in a pretty active period, and really 2025 overall, there's a lot.
Like the whole thing.
A lot happening.
I heard the whole thing was
everybody's
crazy.
exhausted.
Like I heard February was the chillest month, and I was like, God damn it.
That's probably
February
accurate.
just finished. February just finished. Jesus.
Yeah. No, March was like crazy. We had 2 retrogrades. We had 2 eclipses because it's an eclipse season. We have the astrological new year. We had Neptune changing signs at the end of the month, and the outer planets. Those are generational changes. That's really, really significant. And then on top of that, you have, little aspects and things connecting to each other. So it was a huge, huge month. And April was just feeling the after effects of that. So the retrogrades were wrapping up. We were settling into what is Neptune like when it's in Aries rather than in Pisces, where it's been for, I think, like 2018. I might be misspeaking because I keep so many dates in my brain and then I worry I'm mixing all of them up. But it's been there for a long time. And then in May, which is when we're recording, it's been a huge Mercury month. So Mercury has back in full force in direct motion, changing signs a bunch. It's changing signs a bunch next month. But we also have Kazimis, we have, which is happening at the end of this month. We have different aspects. So it's squared Pluto, it's squared Mars. It's been a busy bee and creating a lot of opportunities for us to think about things differently, communicate in a different way. So you're talking about Gemini, and that's Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo as well.
There's a lot of things going on astrologically, and just maybe instead of just like saying what's going on, because there's a lot going on and there's so much in an astrological chart that can point to any aspect of what's going on. I guess what's happening in the political sphere. Also, the fact that we transitioned from Pluto and Capricorn to Pluto and Aquarius. And I remember when it switched signs last, we had the big housing market crash and stuff. And a lot of people are feeling money themes lately. And I was wondering if there's anything we can share about that with our audience.
Yeah, with Pluto in Aquarius, so it is now locked in. It's going to be there for the next 20 years. It changed signs in November of 2024. And what it's doing that I have seen, and of course it can be hard to tell because if we have all of these outer planets, we have this procession of all of the outer planets changing signs. So it's almost a little bit difficult to know the full quote unquote energetic impact of all of them because every single planet keeps changing signs, and then all these retrogrades happening back to back. So what is it all attributed to? Or it's the overlap, it's the orchestra, the symphony of all of the different changes. But in the broad spectrum, when you have Pluto, a planet of power, transformation, death, and rebirth. So it's like, let's knock everything down and destroy it and then make something new so we can be different. It's focused on Aquarius, which is about the people. It's about innovation and technology. And when you're comparing it to the era that we were in before, like you're mentioning, the stock market and all the other stuff. So around 2008, it's like that's when we had Pluto going into Capricorn, and we had this whole period of time where what Pluto was focusing on is the power was being concentrated in the hierarchy. So it's all of the billionaires, more and more billionaires being created. The money was moving upward with the people that were really ambitious as the entrepreneurs that were taking over. And what we're living in now, and we've experienced flashes of it because Pluto went into Aquarius for, I think, 5 or 6 months prior, and then retrograded back, and then it formally went in November. But that's when ChatGPT launched. The first time it went into Aquarius in our lifetimes, because the last time none of us were alive so many years ago, 100, 200 something years ago. That's when ChatGPT launched, the first version. And then it goes quiet because it went back into Capricorn. And then now we're in this era where that's all the people are talking about is what's the technology doing? How can we get the power back to the people? That's Aquarius. How can we redistribute power so that it's supporting humanitarian causes and that we're considering the long-term effects? Because Aquarius, like Capricorn, they're both ruled by Saturn. So they care about structure, but the structures that they like to create are completely different from one another.
I want to say I have a couple things about that. I love that it's Pluto and Aquarius. We're moving into innovation, technology, and what have you. Possibly aliens. I love saying that whenever I
or the supernatural. People getting more into these spiritual topics or different modalities, more of the new age, if you will. That also works for Aquarius.
Yeah. And I'm wondering because a lot, I remember the last several years, ever since the pandemic, people are talking about global warming and a return to nature and all those things because all these systems are destroying our planet. And I was like, how does that fit in when we're moving towards technology? But I guess that's the innovative part. How do we include Mother Nature in where are we going as a society? And I know that, and I use I noticed that too. ChatGPT is coming up a lot, and I use ChatGPT a lot in my work now, since I would love to pay for a helper, but I don't have the resources for that. And I love the whole democratizing of resources that's happening too, that shift into the power back to the people. But I also learned that ChatGPT, just to run it, takes a lot of resources.
Water.
It takes, water and the emissions from it. So I don't know what you have to add to that, but I was just like, it's always something in the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm using this, but also I know it's not very great for the planet. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT too.
No, I just wanted to double check this to make sure I wasn't mixing any of it up. So what you're bringing up is, as a collective, are we moving towards connecting more to Mother Nature? Well, if you look at it purely astrologically, what all of the outer planets are doing, Pluto into Aquarius, that's an air sign, not Earth sign. Neptune into Aries, fire sign. Air and fire go together. They're complementary to each other and have a very active way about them. Saturn this weekend going into Aries, fire sign. And then we have Jupiter going into a water sign. Plot twist. Jupiter going into a water sign. Now we have a different energy, still not Earth. And then Uranus will go into Gemini, air sign. So there is no collective energy this year, next year, decades forward in an Earth sign. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about the Earth. It just means that part of where that collective energy is going is our communication, collaborations, inspiration, conflict, and then a little bit of intuition as well, which we like that part.
I know that Christine goes hard for the planet, so I want to know what your
I
two
was just
cents
thinking
are
about
about
that.
it.
No, but I also think too, like, we're going through all of these changes, and while astrology can forecast like where, like, the areas of life that are going to change, like, the change is still like within our hands, right?
Mhm.
So like whatever technologies we come up with and we create, like, we can decide which way it goes. We just know what the energy is for the time being. We know the weather forecast. Does that make sense? And I also remember from my quantum hypnosis with Christian, I was chatting with the earth and I was crying because I feel bad for all the things that happened to her. But what I remember is her, like, her comforting me. Like, the earth, no matter what happens, is going to be fine. Like, the earth is going to figure her shit out. She's either going to kill us off and start all over. It wouldn't be the first time, you know, or we're going to learn to work with her. But I guess my point is, after our reading, I'm not as worried about Earth. I'm more worried about us, because we can learn to live in harmony with nature as we once did, or, you know, not, and then, you know, just not have a good quality of life. It's very dark.
It is dark, but I mean, that's also a Pluto and Aquarius theme, is like when we innovate in technology, and we're still like we're in the dismantling of the patriarchy, but it's still there, and it's still like in our programming, in our nervous system, our conditionings. We It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that's going to be noticed. And I think the younger generations will definitely have answers to these. They're not going to be as conditioned as we were, I feel. They seem really like they all seem they're giving like old soul vibes, a lot of them. Like they know what they came here for. Like one of Dren's nieces is that way, and I was like, she went from crawling to walking, or no, crawling. What crawling was the in between. She just went to walking. So it's like they're moving around the world a little bit differently than I remember myself as a child. And not that not that I'm putting pressure on the next generation to like heal the world and stuff like that. I feel like because of this is our moment in time, and I was riffing off of this like the last episodes, is that it's really interesting that we have this moment in time where we have this truth in our collective humanity history, and then like 10 years down the line the truth will be different, or like back in medieval times the truth was different. So our collective reality evolves over time. So at this moment, this is what we can see, but we haven't received enough information for what it will look like moving forward. So I guess it's like back to just taking it moment by moment and day by day. But there was something else I wanted to say, but I totally lost it, like about what you were saying.
You just made me think of something that I heard, and I don't know if I would say heard or learned, but astrologically speaking, the millennials, our generation, Pluto and Scorpio, we came here to heal the collective. Like, if you see like millennials, how they parent versus prior generations, like there's a big difference. And we came here to heal the coming generations because they're the ones that are going to heal the earth. So I don't know if it helps, but it kind of gave me some pause, because I feel like I need to do everything right. Like, I compost, I recycle, I use ChatGPT sparingly. Like, I do whatever I can to try to help the earth. And then I realize that's not my role here. My generation's role here is to continue doing the healing work that I came here to do, right? So I'm healing past karma for my family, for myself. I'm healing it for other people via my intuitive work. Same for you guys. So I don't know if that like helps like lighten the conversation a little bit, but I think even astrologically speaking, looking at the generations, like our job here is to just clear the way to let the younger generations fix everything, because
Right.
clearly things need some tidying up.
And just a way to elaborate on that point is why is that? Pluto in Scorpio is about getting to the truth, deeply understanding our emotions and processing and facing the darkest realities and being able to work and transform through that. So it makes sense that we would be having more and more people that are healers, that are looking to develop their emotional intelligence to connect with one another. It's not going to be everybody. Obviously, there's mitigating factors. But as a collective, if we're more there, that's awesome. And it doesn't mean that the generations before and afterwards are going to be that way. And we can only do what is within our power and our bandwidth to handle.
Mm-hmm.
During our finite time on Earth, like we're here for a particular purpose, mission. If purpose and mission resonates with you, you might be the person who's here to just relax this incarnation.
I would love
And that
that.
is healing. I mean, yeah. Well,
We'd
it's
love that,
healing
but it's
to
not
know,
us.
right? It's healing to know that that is somebody's incarnation, because their presence in their rest and relaxation is a model for other people who feel like they haven't been able to their whole lives because they had the survival conditioning that I have. My south node is in Scorpio, so all the yeah, I go there really easily. Like, I love that I named this podcast "See Joy and Expand," but I go dark and deep really hard and really fast. But I think, and that's another, like, if I go back into my cross of incarnation, I have the left angle cross of duality, and it speaks more to how I move around in the world. Like, I have the isolated side of me. I like do my own thing. I have my own life, and then I jump into community. But I do play with duality a lot. Like, I feel like a bridge between worlds. Like, I think very differently and for my generation. And how can I be a part of my community in my own unique way? And that's another thing that I'm really excited about. Like, does I always feel like people speak about in the woo woo spaces that Pluto in Aquarius is the same as Age of Aquarius. Is it synonymous, or
People say that. Well, because when people were anticipating, oh, Pluto's entering Aquarius, is that the age of Aquarius? And it's like, I mean, yeah, whatever. Like, what do we even mean by age of Aquarius? Like, just the song? Like, what are our expectations around it? Because whenever that was crafted, or ideas when people were talking about the age of Aquarius, again, that was of a different time. And like you mentioned earlier, Christian, they couldn't see and know the things that we know now. People didn't know 10 years ago that we were going to have the technology that we have. They didn't know 20. Well, how long have we had the iPhone? How long have we had YouTube? How long have we had social media? It's like we didn't know 10 years before each of those developments that we were going to have those technologies. And they would completely send all of us on a metaphorical rocket in a new direction and change culture and society fundamentally. And all of these businesses and jobs that did not exist before, based around tools that somebody invented, quote unquote, out of thin air.